Hey and welcome. I hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are having a good time. Let me just restart that. Hey and welcome. Hope you guys are doing good. Today we have a special interview today with Sbusiso Manqa. That's it, right?
Almost Sbusiso Manqa.
There you go. He's better because it's his name. But in other words, he is a young South African who is an award-winning author, film director, NYDA Trailblazer for the year 2021. The founder and CEO of SA Book Online, which you can find at sabookonline.com.
.co.za.
I guess some of my notes are wrong over here a little bit, but like everything in news reporting.
Exactly.
But I mean, that's a lot of, you got a lot of skills there to see.
Man, it's just, there's a saying that youth is wasted on the young.
That is so true.
So I don't want to be part of those statistics,
That is
so
true.
I just want to upskill myself and experience as many things as I possibly can that I am interested into. It is one thing to try and do everything that 50% of you're not really interested in. You'll find yourself with 8 different jobs by the time you're 30 and saying, I don't know where to go from here. But you have experience for 8 different jobs. But if it's 8 different jobs of things that you like, not only have you experienced things, but when you look back, you find that you have created this huge network because you've been involved in spaces that you enjoy.
That is very true. Like, especially when you do something you love, especially with you, where people have seen your work in multiple domestic and international platforms, right? And you're even a writer of 2 books, My Tears Miss You, and I Think I'm Depressed. Both of them sound very interesting. I understand you also do poetry as well, with a work namely known as Understanding the Life Through Poetry and Rejected.
I'll tell you, Understanding Life Through Poetry was my first compilation. I don't want to call it a book because of the way it was published at the time. I was 18 years old. It had about 9 chapters, I think. I started writing it in matric during exam time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was very
interesting. To get your mind off work and exams.
No, I would just hurry up and quickly finish an exam and just go to the back of the question paper and just start writing.
Oh, nice. I used to do that, but I used to draw little figures or cartoons.
Yeah, so that's when everything started. Everything with me started with poetry, and then it later branched into proper writing and film script writing. So poetry is my foundation.
Now they're on the topic of how you got into writing and stuff, but why did you go into literature? Why the creative writing space, and how did you become a scribbler, and essentially what drives you to write books or be very creative in your way of writing?
It's a very funny story. Sometimes you don't know what you are as a child, but you find yourself practicing certain habits and people around you notice it. I didn't know I was that creative. I think I was in about grade 9. There was this other English teacher. She was a theater writer. She used to write theater productions. She came to me, she said, you are going to be in my play and you're going to be the main character because I wrote it especially for you, because I was a menace in the class and I used to have answers for everything. Although they were wrong, they were very funny. So from there, I really, even at that time, I also still didn't notice that I'm a creative that much. It was about grade 11 when I was really bored in Afrikaans class, because it was really quiet in there because the teacher was strict and I really wasn't in the mood to do the work. So I started scribbling words at the back of my workbook. I wrote a sentence followed by another one. It became a paragraph. It eventually became 4 paragraphs. And then I took it to my friend. I was like, hey man, read this. I just wrote this. He was like, oh, that's a nice poem. I was like, oh, so that's what it's called. I was like, okay. But I wasn't really convinced. I went to my English teacher, Miss Amir. God bless that woman. She's the one that really made me pursue writing the way I am. Because I showed it to her. Her response was, this is better than the things we are doing in class right now.
Oh wow, so you just always
and I was just scribbling, and the first poem was called I'm a 21st Century Activist.
Oh, okay.
And those words went to my head. And then coming from, when you're in South Africa, you cannot help but know or notice the political atmosphere around you. and both my parents were like also freedom fighters and stuff. So around my house there was a lot of consciousness, Pan-Africanism talks happening.
Talking about like what's the right thing to do.
What's the right thing to do? So now I'm having all of these political theories. I'm now questioning. I'm in my teens. I'm questioning life, and at the same time, there's this new ability I've developed in writing. I start writing more and more, and I start going to hang around spaces, because it's very important in whatever you're doing to hang around in important spaces with like-minded people. I start performing. I start traveling, and making me travel, making me meet people that I wouldn't meet on a normal day. So it really got me hooked, and I thought to myself, if I can meet important people doing this, then the only thing that's left is to find a way to monetize this, and then my life will be happy.
That's true. And speaking about all that, as you know, we are in the fourth industrial revolution, and over here at EPF, we like the fact that you actually use this and to your advantage, everything with your business and everything. And as you can see around, this is all for IR.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking about that, why would you encourage other young people like ourselves to use similar mechanisms to express themselves or the work they do?
It is important to not only notice your surroundings, but understand what your surrounding is. The surrounding right now says 4IR.
So if you know your environment, you'll be good in the field.
You will be good in the field, and we're living in an age where illiteracy is no longer about you not being able to know how to read. But illiteracy nowadays is you not being able to understand tech.
That's true, and I think in every day you have to understand tech, because it's always evolving. Like, this is a brand new machine, but probably in the next month or so, I have to keep on updating because there's always something new happening.
Exactly.
Even with microphones, even with the computer as well.
Your everyday cell phone.
It's always changing.
It's always changing. Your apps are always
like, have you seen
being
the new
updated.
Huawei phones? Like, those are just like from the old phones they had a couple months ago, like new different league and everything.
Exactly. I remember when smartphones came out,
like BlackBerry and stuff.
you could still, or the touch screens rather, they still had a button where you can go back. And when they started to change and there were no buttons whatsoever, you need to understand how to use your hand gestures. It's simple now because we're familiar to it.
Because only
but
buttons
that was revolutionary.
Only buttons on the phone now, like I think it's both Samsung and iPhone, is the volume button and your power button.
And the power button.
And that's it.
So you understand that a cell phone right now, you do business with it. Especially for me, I write whatever it is that I write, all of my ideas, and then sit down and formalize them on a computer.
And if someone stole your cell phone, you would just be, you'll be stuck in a place where it's challenging for you.
So if you don't understand tech, it's gonna be very tricky.
So it seems like you're very knowledgeable in like the tech space and career writing, and it seems like you also have a lot of expertise and a lot of like growing up in this industry, right? What would you say your expertise and knowledge? How would that benefit youth with regards to education and empowering them or us? Because here at EPF we have these hackathons every month, and this one is on education and youth development. So in relation to that, how would your expertise and knowledge, benefit the youth of today with education and empowerment?
I always try to share as much knowledge as I can in whatever space that I am in, and regardless of if the crowd is one person or 500 people, I just try to express what I know, because there's a saying that if you know, teach. If you get, give. And you'll make a world a better place.
Yeah.
You understand? But more specifically in tech, in this tech area, in the educational space, there's one thing I really want to express is this, what we call information literacy. We have these big technologies that are happening, but a lot of people our age are information literate. It is said that in South Africa that a child in grade 5 can read, but they cannot understand what they're reading.
That's in like there's an old saying I remember hearing, is like you can listen without hearing, you can read, or what's it? You can look at words without reading them. Something like that. I forgot the exact quote.
So with tech, it's the same thing. You will find somebody saying to you right now, I don't know how to register a company. Yeah. But when you go on the website, the CIPC website, it's straightforward.
Yeah, like even like with all this equipment, I self-taught myself how to use all the core equipment. took me about a day, but most of it was just me playing around with it and going on Google.
Exactly. And YouTube, especially with equipment. I do that a lot as well because I'm a filmmaker. When I get a new piece of equipment,
you have to learn how to use it.
You have to learn how to use it. You have to learn how to take instructions from what you are watching. Information literacy is the most important thing that our youth need to.
It could be for anything, even for like school. Let's say you're struggling to understand maths. You go on Google, you search like the problem you're looking for, and then it'll help you with either like a very complicated method or something very simple for you to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's very important, especially for, locally and abroad, which it seems like you are very involved in. Am I correct in saying so? Like with, your books and everything.
Yeah, with my books, I've contributed to numerous book collections in abroad. So, but also with that, it goes back to my point of information literacy. 100%. You see, when you're given a brief, you need to understand what the brief is about, or when you're just putting through a submission of your manuscript, you need to understand what.
And you have to use technology for all of that.
Yeah, you have to use tech for all of that.
And on the topic of tech and everything, and you use it in to advance your career, make it better and everything.
I've been involved in 9 books in the UK. I've never been to the UK.
You've just always been like doing tech and everything.
Tech.
That's the thing, yeah. And I make mention of this because here we actually house the tech hub, like I spoke about you earlier off camera.
Yeah.
And with the socioeconomic issues that Mikhail, the manager of EPF, told you, but we do it through tech. Not like the old method way of government doing. We get funding, we spend it for somewhere ourselves, exactly. And then do the own thing. So, what would you say is your biggest barrier or stumbling block when it comes to executing your duties and getting things done? Like, what is your writer's block when it comes to doing the work?
Sometimes it's good to be ambitious, but that also can be a stumbling block. When you are so focused on the end goal, or on page 10 or chapter 10, you're struggling to write chapter 1. So sometimes that is one of my biggest stumbling blocks. I have to just take this big goal of mine and then start chopping it down to a little bit of pieces that I can chew, that not this month, not this week, not today, not this hour, but in this next 5 minutes, this is what I am going to do. That will contribute to what will be happening or what the result will be on day 30.
Because I was reading something, someone posted something on the WhatsApp saying about Elon Musk saying like a quote or something like, if you give yourself 30 days to clean your house, within 30 days you'll clean your house. If you give yourself 30 minutes to eat food, you'll give yourself 30 minutes. So you could use that exact same method for doing work. So for example, if you want to write a book within, let's say, a week, you will make yourself write that book within a week. Results may not be good, but...
Yeah, but sometimes also, that is one of the stumbling blocks when you say, I am going to do something. You see something like creative work stems big from inspiration. If I'm going to sit down at this desk and say, I'm going to do this, I probably won't.
Yeah.
Because they say good creatives wait for inspiration, but great creatives go and search for inspiration.
That's a lot of time, because especially with me when I do my drawings at home or I think of a podcast episode to do, like I wouldn't just like sit around and stuff. I'll look at stuff online and like, hey, that's an idea. Like last night I went through a book that a friend gave me, like with just random like thoughts and ideas we both had over the time, and I was like, that could be a good episode. So stuff like that, like small little things, can help you inspire everyone else.
Yeah.
So, speaking about books and everything, and the whole London thing where you said you never been to London, but you've kind of appeared there virtually 9 times. Yeah. How was that experience, actually?
I think the first book was the one that shocked me when my contribution to the work, the submissions from all over the world.
What book was that?
It was a book series. There was a book series called A Collection of Poetry and Prose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I used to be for the Poet Society. They used to go to Scoobs and stuff, and we were actually speaking about it a while back.
Yeah, so when I submitted my poems, I submitted like 10 poems at the time, and then when they wrote back, they said, "We like your stuff. It's very raw.
Yeah,
we can only take 6, unfortunately. That's the maximum."
But it's good. You gave them more than was needed, and they chose the 6 best ones out.
For me, even if it was 1, it was an achievement. You understand? Now my work is reaching to places that I've never been. Now I have a book called I Think I'm Depressed on Google Books. It's in 56 countries now. and I've never been to 56 countries before. So that's when you start to see how when you infuse tech with your craft, you know, and tech helps you to reach places your body can't.
You know, speaking of these two books, right? Before we get on to the last question, I guess, I just want to your book over there. I think I'm depressed. How much is it on on the Google stores?
On the Google store, it's a free.
Oh,
it's free download
because that is such a nice thing. Yeah.
Because I was hospitalized for depression, and when I got out, I told myself when I was in hospital, I was like, if I survive this, I'm gonna write about it, and then I'm gonna put it out there. And then it later became hard copy because people demanded a hard copy just for collection. I was like, okay, let's just make it a pocket book.
Yeah. Like the thing with me, the podcast I do, it's like the one that I personally own. The only reason I do that one is because like I have suffered depression before, and still go through every now and then anxiety, but it's like
never ends.
Never ends. But the thing is, I said like, let me do this for free. I don't want to make money off it. If I do, I'm donating it to like an organization that helps with anxiety and depression because I feel like if you be through it, you don't want to make money off it because you want to help everyone else the same way you want to help.
Yep.
And talking about these two books now, I think I'm depressed, and one that I actually really want to read as well because I'm interested in it. My Tears Miss You.
My Tears Miss You.
What is that one about actually?
My Tears Miss You is about, if you see when we talk about love, we always want to be protagonists in our own story.
Yeah.
So with my Tears Miss You, it's about being vulnerable. It's that exposing that side of yourself when you're in love that says, okay, in love, I'm afraid to lose you. I get jealous when you talk to other people. I feel a little bit ashamed when you ignore me, It's those things that we keep to ourselves.
Yeah, I will say the one thing about love is, you really love someone is when you're afraid that they'll go away one day.
Absolutely.
Then, either like you guys will just fade away. That's when you really love the person.
Absolutely.
But now, speaking about all the work you've done, which sounds amazing, I can't actually wait to go download the book, read all your other stuff, and read your poems and stuff. What is the most surprising that you've learned in creating these works, these masterpieces, or your children?
It's that sometimes the message you want to send has a life of its own, and when it reaches somebody else, your intention is very important. If my intention is to uplift you and you read this, I'm thinking I'm gonna pull you out of depression, but I might just give you a business idea.
Yeah.
But it all goes with energy. And for me, when people say, hey, out of your book, I was able to create this and this for myself,
Yeah.
I found people who wrote songs saying they got inspired by My Tears Miss You, I think I'm depressed. And when that reciprocated to me, it also inspires me in a big way till this point where I am right now, to starting essay books online, was feeding off through other people.
Yeah, I saw one of your websites, like really interested in everything, but I will say the one thing I love about books, I'm not that much of a reader, but whenever I read a book, and you go to a book reading, everyone has a different view or like what they learned from the book. So for example, from that book, I would say like, if I was still in that really dark, state of depression, I read that book, I'd be like, I now know I'm not the only one who feels like this. So I feel like what you're doing is actually helping communities and the youth, because as you know, depression in South Africa is really affecting youth right now. Bringing themselves down, suicide things as well.
Absolutely.
Especially for the youth is. So what you're doing is, really great work. But that is, I'm afraid, all the time we have for today. But I am Emil Marmuthu, and this week with us, keeping our eyes on challenges, is Sbusiso Manqa.
Sbusiso Manqa.
I'm so sorry about that.
No problem.
But thanks for joining. And thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And we are done. Well, that was great.